Good Tuesday evening. I'm Chief Meteorologist Emily Walls, and again today we were dealing with wildfire smoke just blanketing the skies across the region. So here's a look at today's topics. We have wildfire smoke to tell you about, air quality alerts that have actually been extended now across the Chicagoland area until tomorrow night. Originally, those were looking like they were going to be able to expire this evening. That is no longer the case, so that wildfire smoke is still lingering. And then next up, we're going to be talking about the tropics again. So Invest 93L that is spinning away over Florida right now, over the Florida Peninsula, but that's likely going to move out over the Gulf, which could potentially lead to tropical development in the Gulf over the next couple of days. I'm going to show you where it could be headed and if it could be indeed strengthening into a tropical depression in the coming days near the Gulf Coast. And then finally, we're going to come back locally because we have a threat of severe thunderstorms going into the Chicagoland area tomorrow after about 2 p.m. So I'll have that timing and the hazards all coming up in just a little bit. But first, let's talk about the air quality. So we have some really incredible video to be able to show you coming from the chopper earlier today. Look at how smoky our skies were over the city. This actually looks a little bit worse than what we were seeing yesterday. So again, it's really not surprising to see that our air quality alert has been expanded. You could just kind of see that haze in the air, and this will likely be the scene again tomorrow too. So for those of you that have underlying health concerns, if you are impacted by the poor air quality, I'm sure you are feeling that today. You're likely going to feel that again tomorrow. When it comes to our actual air quality at the current moment, a lot of us are sitting in the moderate category. For most individuals, it is considered to be acceptable. But again, for those of you with underlying health issues, respiratory issues, you're probably still feeling the effects. So again, our air quality alert, it's in effect for all locations here that you see highlighted in orange. That's McHenry County, Lake County in Illinois, Kane, DuPage, Cook County, Kendall, Grundy, Will, and then all of our northwestern Indiana communities as well, all included in this air quality alert. So let's talk about the actual air quality as it stands right now. So notice how most areas across Chicagoland that are highlighted in the first place are highlighted in yellow. That's actually not terrible news for us. So whenever you're in the moderate category, again, that means that it is acceptable for most individuals, although closer to the city and around the south side of Chicago, if we zoom things in here, you can see it's highlighted in this orange shading, and you can see it's labeled as sensitive. So what this means is that it's considered to be unhealthy for sensitive groups. So unfortunately, periodically, we see these areas of orange popping up where it is considered to be unhealthy. So that's what we're going to be watching for again tomorrow as well. Taking things off toward the east, previously, about an hour ago or so, it was we were dealing with unhealthy air quality for all groups across portions of the Detroit area, the Detroit metro area, over toward Muskegon. Fortunately, we've seen some slight improvements there, but over in Canada, right along the Lake Huron coast there, it's considered to be hazardous. So that's how poor the air quality is there. Zooming things out, you can see here it's not just us. So the upper Midwest, now over into the Northeast, based on our current weather pattern, it's dragging down that wildfire smoke from Canada, and there are hundreds of wildfires that are ongoing in Canada as we speak. So with the current weather pattern, it's bringing down that smoke into the northern U.S. But we also have other wildfires to tell you about. So take a look at the Futurecast smoke model here, and you can see all of the reds, the oranges that you're seeing showing up, the magentas across the southwestern U.S. There are several large wildfires that are ongoing in this region of the country, and watch how it moves over the next couple of days. So again, this is a smoke product, and based on the weather pattern that's expected tonight into early tomorrow, you'll notice how that begins to creep to the north and the east. So there is a possibility that, yes, tomorrow air quality here locally could improve, although later this week, it's not out of the question that some of that smoke from the southwestern U.S. ends up blanketing our skies here at home again. So we may get a brief break, but there is at least a chance that we could see that coming on back later on this week. Let's take a look now at our fire tracker, because there's two fires in particular that I really want to focus on tonight. The first one is in Utah. So if we zoom things in, this is called the Deer Creek Fire, and it's now 12,905 acres, which, by the way, equates to be about 20 square miles. So this is a large fire. Fortunately, it is considered to be 7% contained now, but we have a really, really cool video to show you. And fortunately, from the reports that I've seen, No injuries along with this, but check out this FIRENADO. So what you're looking at here is typically when you have a wildfire, there's a lot of heat, obviously, that's being released, of course, because it's fire. But when you have that vertical column of rising air, at times it can start to spin. So this is what we would call a FIRENADO or a fire whirl. And these can be as small as 1 foot in diameter to 500 feet. And the one that you're looking at, I don't know the actual dimensions of this, but as you can tell, it's pretty large and it very much resembles a tornado. So take a look at some of these stats here. So what is a FIRENADO? Again, we also can call these fire whirls, especially when they are on a smaller scale, but the one that you were just seeing was very much on a larger scale, and they do have the potential of being as strong and bringing winds as strong as small tornadoes. And I was doing a little bit of digging just to see what's one of the largest FIRENADOs that we've ever seen. And it actually took place back in 2018, and it had wind speeds of up to 143 miles per hour. So that's equivalent to an EF3 tornado. So these can actually generate a lot of wind and potentially damage along with the fire that's already ongoing. So what it is a spinning column of hot air. Of course, that's taking the gases associated with it, the smoke, the debris, and throwing it up into the air, which is why you see that spinning column. And again, they can get as large as about 500 feet wide. So very impressive there. Now let's bounce to the south just ever so slightly, and we're going to check in with northern Arizona to the White Sage Fire. We were talking a little bit about this yesterday at this very same time, and 24 hours ago, the White Sage Fire was about 49,000 acres. So just today, this has grown an additional 3,000 acres. It's now equivalent to about 82 square miles, which that's huge. If you think about the city of Chicago, that's more than 1/3 the city of Chicago. Of course, this area of northern Arizona is not nearly as populated as Chicago, but nonetheless, spatially, that kind of gives you a comparison of what 82 square miles looks like. It's about 1/3 of the city of Chicago. So the White Sage Fire is also continuing to burn. That one, unfortunately, is considered to be 0% contained, so it is still just raging on. Now, going over to the Gulf. So if we're going to track the tropics here, there's something that we're watching called Invest 93L. Why are we calling it that? Well, the National Hurricane Center, they label areas that they want to investigate. You can think of it that way. So an invest is something that we're looking at for the potential of tropical development. So that low pressure system that you see over northern Florida, this is what we are calling Invest 93L. Now, if that ends up developing into a tropical depression or a tropical storm, then we very well could have our next named storm in the Atlantic season. And that's what we're watching for, especially later on this week. But even if this doesn't turn into a tropical depression, even if it doesn't strengthen enough to be a tropical storm, this is still bringing flooding rains to portions of Florida, and it's going to continue to do that along the Gulf Coast over the next couple of days. So let's go ahead and we'll take a look at what the National Hurricane Center is forecasting for the next couple of days. So this is the tropical cyclone development for the next 2 days. It's predicted to have a medium chance of becoming a tropical depression in the next couple of days. But there's 2 different scenarios that we're going to be watching for. So essentially, if this low pressure system, I'm going to put my cursor on the screen here for you. It's sitting just south of Jacksonville. If it were to take a track that just kind of hugs the Gulf Coast like this, then the chances of it developing into a much stronger system appears to be fairly slim. However, if it does take a southern track down into the Gulf, where it has a much more favorable environment for development, then this very well could gain some steam, some higher winds, and potentially become a tropical depression, if not a tropical storm. So that's what we're watching for over the next couple of days. Everything with tropical development really comes down to, one, a lack of wind shear, which we have over the Gulf Coast, but also it comes down to sea surface temperatures. And take a look at how warm the Gulf waters are right now, mid to upper 80s. So if this thing is able to get out into the Gulf a little bit further offshore, it's going to have a pretty decent chance of development and becoming a little bit stronger. But again, whether that becomes a tropical depression or a tropical storm, the risks are going to stay about the same. So you can see right along the Gulf Coast, is highlighted for a flash flood risk tomorrow. And then again on Thursday, that flash flood risk is going to extend especially over into New Orleans and the Louisiana coast. That's where we're going to see the highest threat of flooding with this particular system. Here at home, it's all about the severe thunderstorm chances for tomorrow. This is the wide view, so it's all of the Great Lakes region, but specifically here in Chicagoland, especially northeastern Illinois, we have a decent chance of seeing at least a few severe thunderstorms. I'm going to have the timing for you, including what areas should be most concerned, coming up in 2 minutes. Welcome back. So we're watching for the potential of strong to severe thunderstorms developing as our next low pressure system moves in tomorrow, and that's going to be triggering at least some showers and storms tomorrow afternoon and then into the evening hours. So the Storm Prediction Center has our area in a slight risk, highlighted in yellow here on this map. That's a level 2 of 5 on their severe risk scale, which means scattered severe thunderstorms are going to be possible. And for those of you that are in eastern Kankakee County, kind of hugging the state line with Indiana over into northwest Indiana, you're highlighted in a marginal risk, which is a level 1 of 5. So the highest threat of severe weather does appear to be over northeastern Illinois tomorrow. And the main concern that we have is going to be for damaging wind gusts. So that's what this map is representing. There's a 15% wind risk for damaging wind gusts occurring around all locations that are highlighted here in yellow. And then for those of you in the brown shade, that's a 5% risk. But something that we're going to have to watch very closely is there could be just enough spin in the atmosphere tomorrow afternoon, early evening, that we could potentially be dealing with brief spin-up tornadoes. So the Storm Prediction Center does have portions of the area highlighted in a 2% risk. I know that sounds very low, but what this actually means, it's a probability that within 25 miles of any point that you were to choose in that green shaded area, there is a 2% risk of a tornado. So it's kind of a little bit higher than what it sounds like. Again, that's within any point, 25 miles of any point, there's a 2% risk. So Futurecast will time things out. Here comes that low pressure system. Tomorrow morning, it's fine. We're not worried. It's hot. It's humid. We're going to have high temperatures that are in the 90s tomorrow. But then anytime after about 2 p.m., we could be seeing some showers, thunderstorms firing up. And then that's going to last right on through the evening hours until this cold front moves through. And then that's finally going to take those showers and storms along with it. And then that cold front is going to make a world of difference when it comes to your temperatures. So it's going to be much cooler by Thursday. Tonight, 73 degrees. We'll have south winds about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Here's a look at that 3-day forecast for you. We're looking at low 90s for tomorrow, but then looking ahead to Thursday and Friday, we're in the upper 70s and low 80s. Keep it here for the news at 9. I will have your full 7-day forecast and what you can expect for this upcoming weekend. We'll see you then.